Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another Zoom session of Q&A session with one of the filmmakers of 25th International Film Festival of Kerala. Now we have with us Mr. Hilal Baidarov, director of the international competition section film In Between Dying. Mr. Hilal Baidarov hails from Baku in Azerbaijan. His earlier films have been showcased at Montreal International Film Festival, Vision Du Reel Film Festival, IDFA, to name a few. He has studied filmmaking under renowned filmmaker Bela Tar before making his directorial debut. Mr. Hilal Baidarov, a very warm welcome to this Q&A session.
Thank you
And
very much.
today, Ms. Namrata Joshi is in conversation with Mr. Hilal Baidarov. Namrata Joshi is one of India's leading film critics who has who regularly contributes to the Hindu, the Wire, Outlook, etc. She has won Best Film Critic Award from Government of India in the year 2004, and she has also served as the one of the selection committee members of the international competition section of 25th IFFK. Mr. Hilal Baidarov and Ms. Namrata Joshi, a very warm welcome to this Q&A session. Over to both of you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so much.
Bandhu. And Hilal, it's an absolute privilege to be talking to you and introducing the film In Between Dying, which I thought was one of the most entrancing, one of the most enigmatic films I've seen of late. And pardon me if I'm wrong, but I would like to see the film as a cinema at its most experiential. You know, while I was watching the film, I thought that I was also going on the long journey with its protagonist Dawood. You know what he encounters. Once getting away from home, the deaths in various forms, and how going away from home eventually brings him back home. How experiencing death perhaps makes him understand life itself. Uh, which makes me ask you whether this experiential form, this stress on evoking feelings, making feelings and emotions tactile, important for you as a filmmaker rather than grappling with intellect ideas and explaining things. I thought what I liked about the film was a lack of explanation. You know, you leave it to me as an audience to go with the flow. Wanted to know about your approach as a filmmaker. Is that what you're trying to do with films?
Yes, exactly. First of all, I want to say that, just like everybody, I watch too many films. I watched more than 5,000, 6,000 films. I watched all the Japanese masters. I watched, I don't know, many from the 30s, 40s, silent era, from 50s. I watched too many films. And just 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I thought that which films are my favorite films. And then I realized that I almost forget all the films I watched. I only remember the films that I feel. I mean, that this kind of image that make me feel something. And these are the French master Bresson, the Ingmar Bergman, and the Sokurov nowadays. And for me, yes, exactly the art means in a single word is a feeling. It is true in the real life also. I mean, if you want to know something, if you're interested in the story, please read Chekhov. Don't watch the cinema. I mean, Chekhov is 100 times intellectual, smarter than any filmmaker living now. I mean, he's a true master of the literature. Please read him. If you need something, I mean, preaching, go to the church. I mean, go to synagogue, go to another places. Or if you need something, I mean, or the intellect or smarter people, go to the university and listen to the professors. I mean, cinema for me is something different. And of course, maybe there are some intersection point between them, but cinema is about the essence, is about the existence, is about the the feeling, the dark side of the human nature, as Dostoevsky said, and showing the unseen part of the human nature. And I always remember, even the usual life, I always remember the people who make me feel something. I don't remember the people who are very intelligent, very smart, very talkative. No, I only, for example, my mom, I have very strong relationship with my mom. She doesn't know any single filmmaker name. She doesn't know anybody. She knows only my name, and she doesn't know any composer name. But I prefer her to all the filmmakers in the world, to all the artists in the world, because I feel something with her. I don't feel, I mean, I studied in the university. I don't remember my professors, but I remember my mom, who even didn't study university, in a village girl. I mean, that is why for me, the cinema is only and only is the feeling, and the deep feeling. I mean, something in deep, something that we try to hide. And cinema should reveal this. Of course, in the other, I don't know, after 6 or 7 or the 8th layer, there's a story, always, because no matter what you do, editing gives you a story. But it doesn't mean that story is the most important thing, even not important thing. Yes, I don't know, I cannot say I focus on the feelings, but what I want to get from the cinema or the image is on the feelings.
Mm-hmm. In this particular film specifically, you engage with death, you know, and in some way the movement of the film also seems to be an indication of a temporality and yet a certain sense of continuity. You know, there is a circular way in which the film moves, which also I was thinking was evoking in me the movement of seasons, you know, how they come in circles. Is it I mean, do you think it's important to understand death to be able to link with life more deeply, to link up with life more profoundly?
Exactly, exactly. You know, once I said this, I grew up in a small village on the mountains, and there are 3 graveyards around our house. And if you want to be our guest, you have to pass these graveyards. And all my relatives, I mean, most of my friends, most of the old people who died are there. And you know, I grew up playing football in between graves. I mean, hide and seek in between graves. And every day I pass the graves. Every day I greet them. Every day I touch my hand to their stones. And that is why death is not a terrific thing for me. It's a terrific, horrible thing for the people who live in the city, because there is no graveyard. They never mention death. They never remember death. They always try to enjoy life. They always like entertainment, which is not for me. I hate any kind of entertainment in the cinema. Maybe in the life, yes, but I hate any kind of this kind of pleasure in the cinema. I don't like pleasure in the cinema. And for me, I mean, death is just exactly the same as a life. Exactly. I mean, it has the same heaviness. It has the same weight in my nature. And I think cinema is mostly about the mirror. And if you talk about the death, it means you talk about the life. I mean, whatever, and I always joke with my friends. I mean, by putting this title to the film, In Between Dying, I thought that, okay, we can put in between living, in between life, because there is no any difference between them. And that is another point that it inspires me. I have to confess, I don't know why. Life, okay, I understand what this word means, but when I remember that, when I remember the unknown, when I remind the uncertainty, it gives me new horizon. It inspires me, and I have to confess that I am obsessed to unknown, and I don't know why. I believe that cinema is a journey to the unknown and to the death. It is not about the entertainment. It is not about the giving the false hope. No, I don't think like that.
You know, you were mentioning about how the people in the urban areas perhaps have this scare factor when it comes to death. When I was watching the film, I thought I somehow linked with it because, you know, there is a certain restlessness we all feel. And especially, I think for me, it intensified because I saw it in the context of, you know, the lockdown, the pandemic, where I think mind has been playing its own games with a lot of us, you know.
Yes.
And So was that the starting point somewhere, this whole existential crisis, which we as individuals across cultures, across countries feel? Was that the starting point for you to take Dawood on the journey that he goes into?
First of all, I want to say that really I didn't know that my film will premiere somewhere in Venice or in other festivals. Really, I never thought about it, and I never, I have to confess, I have 5 more feature films in my library which is not premiered, and they are dead. I know that they are dead. They are fiction films, and I thought that this In Between Dying will be one of them. I just showed it to the Carlos Ecaras. He liked the film, and we come together with my producers, and we finished the film, and it ended up in Venice. And really, I could never imagine that my film will be shown somewhere in a big or small and anywhere. I never thought about it. I already started to new film. I already forget In Between Dying, and it is just by chance, by karma. I don't know how to say, and it finds its way, and we are very happy. What I am trying to say, I never planned to make a smarter film or the stupid film. I never tried to make an existential film or the non-existential film. I never tried to make a thriller or comedy. I just tried to reveal myself as always. I mean, first of all, I have to confess that also, I always say that I inspired by the story of the Buddha. Yes, it is true, it's very correct, but there is another humor that I inspired story of myself. I mean, when I left my house, I promised that I will never come back. I told my mom that, Mom, it is farewell. I will never come back. I will live in the West, in the modern world, in a beautiful world, in a big company, just like all my friends, because I studied good university, I'm smarter, and I will never come back to that village again. But I don't know why. Every day, I started to think about why I am exist, what I do in this life, why I am alive, and why I will die, why I was born. I mean, this kind of question, every time I started to think, I felt that I have to come back. I have to come back to my mom. I mean, there is no answer on the West. This is not about the West or the East. It is not. There is no any answer if you leave your home. I mean, you have to come back. You have to come back. And I felt that there is. If there's an answer, I don't know if there is an answer, but I didn't try to find an answer. I tried to feel something. I felt that I had to come back to my mom, and okay, yes, I have to live like that. I don't know what will happen. And I started to make a film just based on this single stupid story. There's a guy who left his house and met with many people who are all the same people, same one, same soul. I mean, all the people were around us, we saw they are the same soul. I believe like that. I feel like that. Of course, I cannot prove. There is no proof. And if you try to prove it, you will seem very comic. But what I feel is that everything I see, every people I met, every road I go, every curtain I see, they are all same thing. They carry the same soul. And it's the same soul that I feel that it is a thing that you feel love. When you feel love, you feel that this love exists in everywhere. And when you leave it, death occurs. And when you leave it, always death occurs. And death means that you have to come back to your origin. That is why there is too many deaths that Dawood trying his own, own roots. Who is he? That is why there is a death, and it is at the end also his mother died. We feel that there is no unhappy. There is no. How can disappear? There is no bad things. It is good. I mean, what we feel is love. I mean, he found love. Okay, it is late, but we feel love. I mean, I think like that.
You kind of anticipated a question that I would have put across to you about, the centrality of the mother-son relationship. It means a lot to you. Do you think it is the bedrock of, family, home, society? What makes this relationship so significant for you?
Modern people don't believe in family anymore, but I have to confess that for me, there is only one simple and one important thing in this life, it's a family. And the mother and son, it is an endless book, and every day I read one page of it. And really, you know, I met too many people. I traveled the festivals. I met too many filmmakers, the critics, I mean, intellectual people, artists. I don't know. I have too many mathematicians. And what I feel from what I get from my mom is a million times that I get from them. I believe me. I mean, I want to say all my honesty. I don't know how many festivals I travel. I don't remember three faces. I don't remember three filmmaker faces. I have really, believe me, I don't remember three filmmakers. I don't know because I just met. Okay, hi. I watched your film. I forget them, and they are real intellectual. But my mom, she didn't start. She didn't graduate from any university. But what I feel is just it is endless book. I discovered this thing from her. I mean, that is why. Maybe it is about me. I don't know. Maybe it's about me. But I feel that the origin is the only thing that you can start to discover in the life. And I also believe that it's a mission of the art to open new horizon. To open new horizon. And I also see that modern people, they don't need to discover any horizon because they are always playing with the computers, the phones, AI, and that kind of things, try to discover something for you. I mean, you have to, for example, in between that, you have to have some many questions in your side that to watch this film. And if you don't want to discover something, of course, you will not watch this film. I mean, you have to some pain, you have to some this kind of, I mean, devotion in your heart that you want to try. You have to try to understand what is going around, why you exist. And if you don't try to understand this kind of things, this film means nothing to you.
Mm-hmm. Going back to what you were talking about, about how the story emerges at the editing table. For me, but primarily the film seems to be a distillation of the images and the sound or the lack of sound, silences. When it comes to the imagery itself, landscape seems to be a very crucial part of what we get to see. And not just that, I think somewhere landscape perhaps also becomes the character in your story, and the external journey, perhaps it charts that out, which is actually the internal journey of your protagonist. And I was particularly struck uh, with your use of a lone tree, that lonesome tree,
Yes.
which kind of that one single image says so much, which I perhaps can't express. But I'm very keen to know about, how you go about, kind of harnessing landscape in your images.
Nature is one of the sacred characters in our films. It appears everywhere. I mean, the people, the human beings, they appear in some scenes, but nature is always there. And I love Renaissance painters. What I learned from them, the harmony between the human nature and nature outside. I mean, in literature, you have to write 50 pages or 60 pages to show something about the character, and you have to create him. You have to talk about what he likes, what he doesn't like. But in cinema, you don't have a chance to do things. When you open the camera, the character is already there. And I thought too much how I can show the nature of the character without telling any single word. That is why you will feel that the voiceovers there are not there to express something, to teach something. They are there for just like the image. For me, in my films, in our films, the words are just another type of the image. And the image there are the only solution for me. It's not about the solution being solution. It is the image. I found the image, the landscapes, I don't know what the frames, I don't know what to say, and putting the character there to show his nature. And when you see the long road, you feel that he's alone. When you see the mist, you feel that he lost. When you see the tree, you feel that he lost. When you see the long roads, you feel that he lost. When you see, I mean, this wide landscape, you see that he's very, very, very small point. We are very, very, very small point in this world, and we are not the master of this world. And the nature is 1,000 million times stronger than us. We die in a single stone. We die. I mean, if we fell down in the sea, we die. I mean, we are nobody. We are just a part of the big nature. And when you find the correct angle, you feel that as this character resembles or this kind of image. That is why when I find the landscapes or the image, it is another character for me, and it is a part of the script, part of the film. And the words there, it is not about to preach you. It is not about to teach you. It is not about making philosophy. No, just like the image try to show the nature, the deep part of the characters. Words are just there, the road, taking road to this deepness. I mean, just like poetry. I mean, this meaning of these words also don't mean too much like in my native language. What I mean is that the color of red is black, for example. It is meaningless in English. It is meaningless in my language also. There is no meaning. I just put it there. Please just take the rhythm. Don't focus on the meaning and goes with the words. You will feel that these roles and the image, the roles, the characters, they all take you somewhere. If you be patient, you will find love. If you're not patient, you will find death.
Another favorite part of mine from your film is the piece of music, the recurring piece of music, which, it creates its own feeling. I mean, if I were to not watch what's happening on screen and just listen to the music, I think I get transported in that world. Quite like, what I thought happened with, say, Yumeji's theme in The Mood for Love, or, that zither music, which Carol Reed uses in The Third Man. A bit about how you went about creating this piece of music, because it is so evocative and so tied in with the film, and yet has such a personality of its own. It stands on its own as well.
Yes. First of all, I want to say something about the use of the music in my films. I mean, I never use them to increase the rhythm of the excitement. No, I never use them to make the film more watchable. No, I just use them because music is there. I try to show you the music. I show you the Dawood, I show you the motorcycle, moped, I show you the woman, I show you tree, and I show you the music. Music is there. Of course, I could take this music from these scenes, but I hear that music is something in the seventh layer in the image. I just put there to show you the music as an object. So, I mean, you see the music as a tree, as a mist, as a road. And secondly, I love music. I have music education. I play other classical masters on the piano, and I always work with my friend, Kenan Rüstemli. He's very, very my beautiful dear friend. And I always show him the theme, and he composed something, and I give my ideas. He changed, and then I give my other. And finally, we finished the musics. And really, I can't not imagine myself or my films without him. I am now finishing my new film. It is almost we locked the editing, and Kenan again the composes the more than 20 music. We almost work with 1 year on this film for musics. Again, I use the musics. Just everything is there just for the feeling. And what's the part of the feeling? The character, image, words, sounds, and the music. And all of you takes. You are just. I always feel that you cannot fly, and I send my birds to take you and bring you somewhere else. And one of the birds is a bird, one of these birds is the music, one of these birds is the character, and they all try to make you evaluate. I mean, your soul become more pureness. Of course, I cannot say I am the pure person. No, I did do many, many dirty things, but at least it's my intention.
Another thing which I wanted to talk to you about is the women in your film. The journey is Dawood's, but it starts with the mother, and at each juncture, his encounters with death, the episodes of death, are all vis-a-vis women. Tell us a bit more about that, because that's a very intriguing aspect of.
I just wanted to show the older woman as the same soul he dreamed. I mean, for me, he is married and he's trying to search his real family. It isn't about a marriage or not, but he has a family, let's say that, and he is trying to find his family. And I want to him pass too many happenings to reach him, to find his family. And I wanted to show that all these short films, let's say like that, 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 15 minutes happenings, they, although they seem very different, they are all same. Although they are all different women, they are all same. And he always goes deep and deep and deep to find his family. And yes, I am also, I mean, I don't know how to translate it. I cannot express this with words. He started with his mom. It's the same soul in this parallel world. I don't know how to say it. In other words, I don't know how to say it. Then he met too many women. They are all same women. He met too many places. Although they are different places, for me, they are the same places. At the end, he lost in this world, but he find in other world. I don't know if you understand me or not, but it was my idea.
Now going into a bit of your filmmaking, this kind of cinema, how much of it is scripted and how much of it do you improvise when you are shooting?
I never write a script. Even the ones I'm never, there is no any script. I mean, all these poems there, you know, we were going to the places where we shoot, and I saw the mist. I stopped the car. We started film the mist. It was not on the script, and I saw the mist and inspired me. I wrote some poems. I gave it to Davut. He learned it and he said it in the film. And all other things, I mean, there was not, and you know, in the first draft also, the film was not like that. I mean, the black dress woman was not in the main role. And just the first version, I watched the first version of the film. I didn't like it, and I changed the editing. Yes, for me, the film started while editing. That is why I never believe in the script part of the film. I never write in a single sentence, or if I write this, some sentences, we never use them. We just lost them, and I just threw it in while the shooting. And we never know what we shoot. We always shoot what the life brings us.
Another intriguing aspect which I kind of got to know, and this is more about you as a filmmaker, you have always been into mathematics and computer science. So how did cinema happen, and how do mathematical formulae relate with cinema?
You know, I told this, what I felt in mathematics, what I feel in the music, what I feel in literature, and what I feel in the cinema is exactly the same. Exactly the same. I feel that they all come from the same origin, from the same point. And really, I don't want to say big words, and I don't know how to say. I feel very ashamed when I say this, but I am the man always think, why do I exist? I don't know how to say this. It is very difficult for me to say these words, but I always think why I exist, what I should do, why I am alive, what's the meaning of this kind of things around us. That is why suddenly, dramatically, I felt that I have to make films. I mean, not to express myself, but at least to try to discover new horizons and radically change. For me, still, I'm doing the same things.
But any of your mathematical background, has it helped in any way in kind of creating the images that you create on screen?
No, never. I never used it. Just the feelings. Well, when I do the math, there's a certain feeling. You know, the love. I want to talk about the love. It is things that you never have a doubt. For example, the passion, or jealousy, or any kind of hate, or I don't know, any kind of feelings you have. You like something. You always in doubt that is it true or not. You never cannot give your decision. But when there is love, there is no question. You know that it is true. You have to do this. It's the same feeling that I felt when I do math. It is the only feelings that I search in the cinema. My friends know me. I took the camera and I go. I just walk. I walk to the trees. I walk to the mountains, and suddenly I feel that this is a feeling that in a moment I opened the camera. And they never asked me that what to do. I just said, okay, David, go please say this part and say some words, and you enter from this card. And yes, that is all what I understand from the cinema. I mean, they're trying to find the feelings that there is no question, there is no question, there is no doubt.
Mm-hmm. Again, back to the film, you know, the alternating between what seemingly real and what feels like dream, you know, again, consciously creating that kind of divide, that kind of intrigue in the audience. Something about that, if you could let us know a bit more.
Once really I understood that if you look at very carefully, you can see that everything is divine. I mean, the magic is the main part of the every object, every material. For the mist and the tree, there is nothing I did. I mean, I never tried to show it is divine. It becomes divine because it is divine. If you look at very deep, if you open your heart, if you devote yourself completely, you can see that life is divine. And then the base element of the material is just the spirit, is the soul. And you have the first rule, what the modern people forget, you have to be patient. You have to be patient, you have to wait. I mean, there is nothing to do. I mean, it is not about working hard, it is about waiting hard. You have to stay like that and you have to wait without doing nothing. Then you can see that what is the base element of the material.
Mm-hmm. Just a couple of more questions, because we'll be nearing the end of the time. One about the poem at the beginning of the film, where, you know, by a young girl, is it?
Yes, 6 years old girl.
How did you kind of come to integrate that? Because that's such a profound bit of writing, and coming from a 6-year-old, I was took a while for me to even get into the film, because I was so taken in with her words. How did that come about? Where did you spot that?
You know, Ayla Safar, she is the daughter of my friend, a writer friend, Rashad Safar. He's a very, very beautiful writer. And she was in the school every day, and me and his father, we took her from the school. One day, when she got in the car, she told me that, Uncle Hilal, I wrote a poem to you. I said, okay, Ayla, to tell me your poem, because we had 30 minutes to go to home. And she started to say this poem. Hey, teacher, you have 1,000 doors in front of you. And really, I shocked. And she continued to say this poem. And when she finished this poem, and I looked at her father, and her father looked at me, I said that this is great, this is just great. And at that time, I finished the film, and I told Ayla that, Ayla, now I am finishing my film, and I will put your poem to the beginning scenes of the film, and I wrote your poem to the first scene I promised you, and I did it. I mean, it just happened by chance when me and her father taking her from the school. I mean, it was never planned.
Mm-hmm. But it so beautifully lays out the element of choice, you know, the thousands, and you pick on one. You know, there is a sense of profundity about what can be lying behind the doors, and which doors we choose to open and which we
Yes.
don't. Last question, which is kind of keeping in mind a whole lot of young independent filmmakers in India and in Kerala in particular. You know, your film is very independent in its spirit, and it's not easy making films which are so much about plunging into your own self, as you were saying. How do you go about it in Azerbaijan? How easy or difficult is it to make a film for someone like you? And how do you overcome the restrictions? Because that would be a great note to end on, and a great message to reach out to the filmmakers here.
You know, conditions is hard. I have to converse. Conditions, actually, the conditions or situations for this kind of films is very difficult in every way, in any other world. I mean, you probably cannot make this kind of film in Europe, because they will say that there is no money and they will never allow to make this kind of films. They never support you. But in my country, in my conditions, you know, I never thought about what is around me. I have very small number of friends. We all carry same thoughts, same ideas, same feelings, same view to the cinema. And we all know that we have to take the camera and we have to shoot our film. I never ask anything from the any fund or any producer. I never know how the directors get the money because I never saw the money in my life. And what I saw that we all have a pain. Well, we all have the passion to understand what's going in the life, to discover new horizons, some questions. I mean, and trying to make an art. It is very difficult to say this part, to make something valuable. And it is only things that always motivate us. We take the camera and we film. And one day it will be shown somewhere. We are happy. If it is not premiere somewhere, just like our 5 films, we were never happy. We were never sad. It is just a part of our life, and it is our destiny. It's our path, and we have to walk. I mean, you have to have something in your side, inner side. I mean, the conditions outside, it always change.
So the camera has to be honest to what you feel and what you have inside you, as you are saying, right?
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Hilal.
Thank you.
Beautiful film and lovely talking to you. And I think it's very inspiring for the younger filmmakers, younger independent filmmakers in India as well. All the best. And we are already looking forward to your next film. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.